Welcome to Home's Room. Just like Homeroom, we start off our day getting together with our homies, swapping stories, even a little kiss and tell action. This podcast contains language not suitable for younger listeners, topics about sex and mental health. Discretion is advised. Our views are our own. Let class begin. Welcome back. We have an interview for you today, and I think Caitlin is super excited about it. And I'm on location in Colorado. Caitlin is under the weather, but we're here for this interview because we're both so ready for it. Boss Babe interview at that. So, Caitlin, how excited are you?
I'm freaking pumped. And don't ever tell me that I'm not down to clown and that I don't ride hard for the homies of Homeroom, because let me tell you, I need to sage my entire house. There has been a new strain of Black Plague that my goblins have been bringing home from daycare. The most recent one is strep. So I'm on day 2 or 3 of antibiotics, though. Hopefully we're turning a corner. I almost canceled on you, but then I was like, oh, no. I can't cancel this episode.
So,
why, Matt?
Because we're going to talk about astrology, but also this is another one of those derby people that I met, and a little bit after my time, so we didn't skate together, but it threw me off when I had to read actual legal first name on the marker here. So we got Shelby with us.
Hey, yo.
So how are you? What do you do? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm Shelby. Legal name Shelby. Derby name the Nace Maker, because I'm Shelby Nace. But in my regular day-to-day life, I'm a social worker. I work for a school district here in town. You know, I'm into all the mental health things. Got a big background in trauma-informed care. So that's like professionally who I am. Personally, who I am is just a bitch with an astrology podcast. And I'm a Pisces, if that tells you anything about me. So I started an astrology podcast called the I'm Such a Pisces podcast. Let me go ahead and plug that right there. With my friend Christine a couple of years ago. So we've been doing it for almost 3 years. We just recorded episode 86 yesterday. So we're like creeping up on 100 episodes. Thank you. I just listened to your guys' 100th episode. So I'm like, yeah, that's a big milestone. Anyway, yeah. So I'm just kind of not a professional astrologer by any means, by any stretch of the imagination, but I am just deeply interested in human behavior. And one of the things that I was saying to Matt before we started recording was I think astrology is a really good lens to look at people through, and just kind of it shows you how many multitudes people contain, and it's just a fun way to look at people. So, I'm into all the woo-woo kind of stuff, but yeah, astrology is where it's at.
Yeah. So with the podcast that you do, tell us a little bit more about that podcast and what people can expect. And then I'm going to tell you about one of my favorite episodes I've listened to so far.
Okay. So the thing about the podcast, it started off, the dynamic. So again, it's called the I'm Such a Pisces podcast. We're both Pisces. It started off as my friend Christine kind of educating me about astrology, because she has been into it for a lot longer than I have. And she is I would say that she, in the realm of astrology, is like more of a professional astrologer, and has spent more time kind of dabbling in that. So the dynamic of the podcast was like, I was the skeptic and she was the person like telling me all the things. But I am like, one of the other things I said before we started recording is like, if you wanted me to join a cult, it would not take very much. Like if you're convincing enough, like I'm extremely, in it. So I've spent enough time with astrology that now I'm all the way in now. I'm not a skeptic anymore. So that was kind of how the podcast started off. We've done an episode about a lot of different astrological topics, but then we have also sort of delved into some other sort of esoteric things, Akashic records and numerology, like all kinds of other stuff like that, which I'm not as, well versed in those things, but just kind of a fun thing to touch on here and there. And then occasionally we just get into pop culture shit because it's fun.
Yes,
So
you do.
we just recently, and I hope I'm not spoiling what you're about to say, we just recently covered, we both watched the most recent season of Love Island, which is like a new thing for me.
Yep.
And so, of course, we analyze everybody's signs and talk about all the drama and all that kind of stuff. So we kind of run the gamut.
So, yes, that is what I'm talking about. You did an episode where you talked about all of the signs and who would do well on what challenge shows. And I was like, oh my God, this is like the best concept of like, I agree with that. I don't agree with that. Yep. That is who would do. Yep. That. Yeah. And then it got to mine and I was like, yeah. Yep, that is accurate. I believe it. I believe it.
Okay, and you'll have to remind me because sometimes here's the thing that happens to me. I don't know if this happens to you when you podcast, where you like turn the mic on and you just start talking, and then it's over, and you don't remember anything that you said. So I can't remember because you're a Libra. So what did we assign to a Libra?
So it was shows that were like we didn't want the drama. We were anything that was like, if there was drama involved, as long as we could stay out of it, then it would be all right. But if it was like all the shows, like you would never catch us on House of Villains. You would never catch us on shows like Survivor, maybe if it's like a season with enough chill people, but if it's a stacked season of drama creators, like we would just be like, tap out, I'm done, like I'm out.
Go ahead and call the plane, I'm out of here.
Exactly. But so I was like, yep, it's the even, and we would bring the like people, like we could play the politic game, but we wouldn't want to play the politic game.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds right. I agree with our assessment that we did.
You also said you were a skeptic, and that's one thing that I always love. We approach the podcast with a lot of times one of us is a skeptic of a thing and the other is trying to just explain the topic enough to be like, okay, I have a little bit more respect for it than I did. Usually Caitlin is on the skeptic side of things. So this is a reversal where Caitlin is all about this. And I was the skeptic.
I am. So I'm very much a skeptic with like most things, especially we've talked about it in several prior episodes. Like Matt just has like this open awareness and just like has otherworldly experiences all the time. And I'm like, no. But there's two things that I surprise myself about not being a skeptic about. The first is astrology, because it's just been right too many times for me to discount. The other is tarot. I have 2 tarot decks up here. And once I had an understanding of doing enough deconstruction to make sure that I was aware that it's not a toy of the devil.
That's
tarot and the experience with the deck and just like drawing the cards and listening to your intuition. It's just a good practice to reconnect with yourself. So that's 2 things in adulthood that I'm very surprised in, that I would be like, if younger Caitlin could see how gung-ho I am for astrology and tarot reading, I'm like, weird. But I'm so excited about astrology. And I said, oh my gosh, yes, I will happily provide Shelby my place of birth and my date and time of birth, because I want to know all the things.
Yeah. Okay. And we're getting ready to jump into that. You said you had some stuff, Shelby, about like just the basics and looking into it. So give us a basic rundown if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. So the other thing about me is I'm a Gemini moon. I like to talk. So I'm going to just keep talking until you tell me not to. But before I start, so I'm curious, like, what's your familiarity with astrology? Like, would you say you're beginner, novice, like, kind of on your way to expert? Like, how much do you feel that you know already?
I'm gonna answer it first because Caitlin's gonna just be like the expert and she's like, oh, I know all of it. But I would say beginner to like intermediate, I guess. Like I know enough to be able to understand it when it's explained, but not enough to be like, if I read it, I'd be like, huh?
Okay.
So I have the CoStar app. Specifically because when there's a certain level of deep friendship, and especially with my husband, I'm like, you have to get the CoStar app just so that I can see where we're at in the stars today. Like if you're off and I'm off, I don't know. And it's been right too many times to discount. Yeah. I know enough about astrology where I have some level of familiarity of like, oh yeah, that's totally a Capricorn thing to do. Or like if I've learned somebody's sign, I'm kind of like, oh yeah, that totally fits. Like I'm familiar enough with the sign and like the stereotypes of the signs. And, for my own personal chart, I know when we start talking about specific houses, lost in the sauce. Lost.
Okay.
I know that I am a Gemini sun and a Gemini moon, I believe. So I'm like super Gemini. That's about as far as I go.
Okay. That's perfect. That's the right amount of knowledge. So, okay, a couple of things. I like made myself some notes so I could remember kind of what to talk about. One of the things about astrology that I think helped me a little bit better, because a lot of people will discount it entirely because they don't identify with their sun sign, right? Which is their main sign. So usually when you say I'm a blah, 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 that's your sun sign. That's kind of the whole of your personality. So the biggest chunk of your personality. When we're looking at a birth chart, we call it your big six. So your six main planets are the things that kind of are more personality traits. And then you also have other planets in your chart, but they're more sort of generational things rather than personal things. So like you have a planet in Saturn, in Jupiter, in Pluto, etc. But because those planets are so far away, they take so long to, make their rotations that more encompasses an entire generation rather than an individual personality. So when we're looking at your personality, we're looking at your big six, but the truth is that everybody's got a little bit of every sign within them. It just is more a matter of looking at where those things show up to kind of tell you how they're going to present, more or less. Yeah. So when someone says like, I don't believe in astrology, like I'm a Capricorn and I don't care about business or money or wealth or anything like that. And I'm like, well, let me see the rest of your chart and, see what other energies are coming into play there. And I'm using the term energies, like every planet has an energy, every sign has an energy. And so we're just kind of looking at where those things align. Obviously there are 12 zodiac signs. Each of those signs is divided into 4 sort of categories that are the elements. So we have our fire signs, our earth signs, our air signs, and our water signs. And each one of those categories, like the signs in that category kind of align with each other. So typically air signs really get along with other air signs. When you think about, for example, a lot of times fire signs and water signs don't always get along, because think about like water is putting out fire, or air signs and fire signs can get along, but you think about it as an element, like what does air do to a fire? It like whips it up into a frenzy, right? So that's kind of how I like to think about that in terms of elemental energy. What else? Sorry, I feel like I'm just yapping, so stop me if you've got
No, you're educational. We're in Holmes' room.
Thanks.
Education is like the baseline.
Right. Let's see. Oh, one of the things that I wrote down that really helped me to understand astrology better was just the phrase that planets are the actors, signs are their costumes, and houses are the stage. So houses are still kind of confusing for me. That is another element of astrology that comes into play a lot. So you've got this planet in this house. Think of it as everything is in 12s with astrology. So just looking at the signs themselves, the astrological new year starts with Aries, which is in April. That's in the spring. So we think of Aries as like the baby of the zodiac sign. Moving all the way through to Pisces, which that's what I am, as kind of like the end of the line, like the old woman of the zodiac sign, so to speak. And then it kind of falls in that order. Houses are the same way. So the first house is like the house of, your birth. And then the 12th house is, so to speak, the house of death. Death in not a literal sense, but more of a I don't know, we're ending this time and place and starting over.
Transitional period.
Yes, exactly. And so when you think of like the second house, okay, well then it's just moving through life stages in that way. And I tend to forget what they all mean because I really struggle to get the houses right. But that's kind of a helpful way for me to think about it, is it's just all moving in this 12-month cycle. What else do we have here? We also have what's called the modalities. So this is kind of how the signs operate. So you might hear the terms, there's 3 different terms. There's cardinal, fixed, and mutable. Cardinal signs are kind of the initiators. So they're motivated to start things. That's Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. Fixed signs are very stable. Some might say, hard to move or stubborn. So that's Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And then you also have mutable signs, which are what we call the adapters. So Geminis, Virgos, Sagittarians, and Pisces. Very mutable, very, easy to move through things.
Why are you nodding like that, Caitlin?
Because I just knew it was going to be the one that made me most physically uncomfortable. I just knew it was going to be the one that was like, oh, okay, well.
I can't wait to get into the charts. Okay, so let's look at the planets themselves, because that will be helpful when we look at the birth charts. So we'll start with Mercury. Mercury is very much the planet of communication and thinking. Technology is often associated with Mercury. So when you hear people say that Mercury is in retrograde, that means that there's going to be a lot of technological issues, communication issues. That's why people always get scared when there's a big Mercury retrograde, which we're in right now. If you didn't know, we're in a Mercury retrograde.
Let's hope the not technical side of this.
Shelby, I was literally about to ask, I know it's something that a bunch of astrology girls say, Mercury in retrograde. I'm no, don't bother me. I'm PMSing and Mercury's in retrograde, but I'm currently going through such a stuffy, clunky, draggy season right now that I'm not even going to ask you, Shelby, if you feel Mercury in retrograde, because I feel Mercury in retrograde right now. I'm about to answer my own freaking question.
Everybody's everyone I know is sick right now. And I'm for whatever reason, I think I'm blaming it on Mercury. Any planet can have a retrograde. So Mercury is just a really close to us planet. And because it affects technology, and technology is such a big part of our world, that's kind of why people get so up in arms about it. So we can dive into retrogrades a little bit later too. But we also, I will plug, we have an episode about that. So that's Mercury, more or less. Venus is our next planet. Venus, think of anything Venus, Venusian, the things that come to mind are the things that planet rules. So love, beauty, aesthetics, but also weirdly enough, your values are really tied into your Venus sign. Yeah, it's a very feminine energy.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Way to describe it. Yeah. And then on the polar opposite end of that, we have Mars. So Mars is drive, action, conflict, just much more of that traditional masculine energy is your Mars. We also have Jupiter, which is your kind of growth, luck, expansion. That's more over the course of an entire lifetime. So again, now we're kind of getting into those outer planets. We also have Saturn. Saturn is known for being the planet of discipline. So the signs that are Saturn ruled are very discipline, responsibility, limitations. Another thing that you might hear people say a lot is you have a Saturn return in your lifetime. A Saturn return is usually when people turn about 30-ish. So essentially all that means is Saturn has made one full rotation in your lifetime. Usually that occurs in your 30s, and that is said to be a big time of transition for a lot of people. So
I'm super curious now. Yeah, I'm super curious about that now.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
You can go back and look and see exactly when your Saturn return happened, but usually the years before and after, within about a year and a half or so, usually mean a lot. So just for my own personal example, like I thought I was out of the Saturn return. I thought like, oh, I turned 30, I'm past it, I'm good, everything's fine. And then it actually hit a little bit later than I thought it was supposed to. And like within the year that my Saturn return hit, I got divorced.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Some big stuff happening. Then, of course, we have Uranus and Neptune. Both of those planets are very like sort of obscure. So if anything feels unclear, there's probably some kind of Neptune placement or some sort of Uranus placement there. Pluto is said to be like the planet of destruction, of revolution, like things starting over. So again, like when a country has a Pluto return, that's usually like 200 something years. I can't remember exactly how many it is. Basically, it means that Pluto has had one entire rotation in that country's lifetime. The United States is going through a Pluto return right now, which I think is
See, and this is why skeptics are like, okay, maybe there's some validity to this thing, because
and I don't think that anybody can question that our country is currently going through something big,
some kind of big revolutionary thing, right? Yeah. It's like really hard to not
almost like rules need to be reestablished correctly and stuff. Yeah, exactly. Weird. I don't know.
Yeah, like almost like the way that we've been doing things hasn't been working.
Right? Yeah, strange.
Yeah, I could get into a whole soapbox about that, but that's not what I'm here for. Let's see. Oh, I guess I did actually write down what each of the houses represents if you want to go through that as well. And then that's the gist. But we'll just go through quickly. So the first house is self and identity. The second house is finances and possessions. Third house is communication. Fourth is home and family. Fifth house is creativity and romance. Sixth is work and health. Seventh is partnerships. Eighth is transformation and intimacy. Ninth is travel and beliefs. 10th is career and status. 11th is community and goals. And then last is spirituality and the unconscious. Unconscious.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm super excited as well. Like there's a couple things that you said that I'm curious about when it comes to, like you said, you were talking about discipline. I was like, I wonder where that one falls. But also like a lot of those things, like it's the worst part about being a Libra is so much as like, well, like I told you when we like, even like when you introduced the fact that you were a podcaster and like we talked when we were, hanging out, and I was like, oh yeah, whatever. And I was like, yeah, my co-host calls me the most professional fence sitter in the fucking world. So like, it just becomes the thing where it's like, okay, but like I'm a Libra, and that's kind of the thing is like, if it makes sense, it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. I don't know. I'm going to weigh this shit out. That's why there's it's a scale.
Literally, the sign that represents Libra is again, the scale. Like you want things to be fair. You want to take a balanced approach.
All right. So this is like complete, I don't want to say TMI, but like, in preparedness for this, I'm on vacation. I even packed my MeUndies Libra underwear just to wear for this episode, because that's how dedicated I am to it. So like the Libra is strong. So let's get into the charts and what you got for us, if you don't mind. Yeah,
no, I would love to. So I will just quickly go through kind of your big general planets here. And I will say, so Christine can look at, have you ever seen the birth charts when they're like in the circular fashion where they're all mapped out like that? Okay. Yeah. So my co-host Christine is so much better at this than I am, is she can like look at a birth chart and tell you what angles and what transits are going to be important based on what angles she sees on the chart. Birth chart reading is much more of an art than it is a science. So I will say that as well. I more look at not so much the aspects, but just like the signs and where they're placed in kind of big general themes. So just give you that little tidbit. So of course you are a Libra sun. You are an Aries moon. You are a Libra Venus. Oh no, excuse me. A Libra Mercury. A Leo Venus. An Aries Mars, Gemini Jupiter, and Saturn in Sagittarius. you are also your ascendant sign, your rising sign, which I didn't talk about that one. Your ascendant sign is based on your birth time, and your ascendant sign is sort of the mask that you show other people. So not necessarily how you are, but how other people perceive you when they first meet you. That is also an Aries.
Yeah.
Did you
I
know
feel,
all that information already?
I did not know that information, but none of it surprises me. You asked, how much I know about it. The majority of what I know about the astrology and is more steeped in Greek mythology and how the gods related to the planets, and so the archetypes that they represented makes it like correlated better in my head. So
Yeah,
I'm not surprised
yeah.
by most of those, because like if I remember which gods were which, I was like, okay, yeah. So like the like yeah, I think it's accurate. I believe it.
Yeah. So one of the other things, and I didn't really talk about this either, but you also have what's called a stellium, which is anytime you have more than three plus planets, or rather three plus signs in various planets. I said that in a weird way, but you have an Aries rising, an Aries moon, and an Aries Mars. So you have an Aries stellium. So even though you are a Libra, I imagine that you do have some heavy Aries tendencies.
Yeah. So that's where like we always make the joke, like I have to like, if we're gonna have my co-host is my co-host, because I have to have somebody that's gonna also be a bull in this thing, and not like if you're gonna just like knuckle under or whatever, then like I have zero interest. It does not. So like
Yeah.
Which it's a little validating for our friendship, Matt, because if I had two guesses for your astrological sign. One was going to be Libra, the other one was going to be Aries. So,
yep, that's what I said. It tracks. I often walk into places and people are like, what? Who's that? And I have to like let the Libra show before they start to like, like, oh, okay, you're actually super safe. Never mind. I thought you were going to be like
ready to fight.
Not what I expected. Okay. So
yeah. So that's your chart.
Perfect example. When we first started talking, I hadn't actually like really had a conversation with you up until that point. So like I could tell you entered that conversation a little timid, and then we started talking, and the Libra showed a little bit more, and you were like, oh yeah, I definitely pick up on this energy. So
we hit it off right away once we started talking. But yeah, we had like run in the same circles for a while without actually having had a conversation. So I was like, I don't know what to expect here.
Yeah.
So specific to Matt's signs and planets, like what is a little bit deeper level of analysis with like, I know you talked about Venus and like the feminine energy and Mars being like more masculine energy. Like what specifically do those signs with corresponding in those planets on Matt's sign? Like what are some conclusions or maybe some guesses that you have about his personality based on those?
Yeah. Okay. This is my favorite thing to do. And I will say, I won't always get it right, but I'm going to just throw a couple of things out there and you tell me if it's a yay or a nay. So with there being a really heavy Aries placement kind of all around. So with Mars being an Aries, Mars kind of tells me how you handle conflict and how you argue with people. And usually an Aries Mars tells me that you have a hot temper.
Yeah.
Now, again, you've got the Libra energy to balance that out. So, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to come to blows, but like your anger is probably pretty quick to rise. Leo in Venus, that also kind of tells me, usually when I look at a Venus sign, I kind of look at like, that's probably how you are in relationship with other people, how you most feel loved. A Leo, I always think of a Leo. My dad's a Leo. I have a very big soft spot for Leos. But they kind of like to be the center of attention, just a little bit. So in relationship, I imagine that you like to kind of be seen and validated and, have perhaps a flair for the dramatic from time to time.
Yeah. It's tracking so far.
Okay. All right. Mercury, Libra, again. So I like it when people's sun sign and their Mercury sign match up, because it tells me that you communicate exactly how you are. Right.
Yeah.
So because you communicate like a Libra, it aligns with kind of the whole of your personality. And it gives much more of a chill vibe. So again, the talking, the communication is very clear, very good with words, very soft, like well-spoken. Yeah. And all of that to me tracks.
It's almost like I should host a podcast or something
Almost
and
like
create
you
a safe space for people to share their stories. Weird.
So weird.
Caitlin, do you agree with these? Are you agreeing with these? What do you think?
I am agreeing with these, and now I'm a little bit scared to see where my shit lines up, because I'm like, man, what's that mean if my sun sign doesn't mean fall with Mercury? Like, am I just, I don't know. We'll see.
It doesn't necessarily mean anything bad. It's just like I said, this is an art, not a science. Like this 100%. Is just me and my, seeing what I see, a different astrologer, and I don't even know that I should call myself an astrologer, but a different person like looking at a chart might see something totally different. Let's see if there's, I think that's the kind of the gist of what I'm seeing so far. Yeah. Any questions? Anything else?
I don't know. So the thing that's always interesting, like the amount of Aries that shows up is like, it makes sense. And it's like, yeah, okay, I see that. I think the thing that gets me the most is like in relationships specifically, it's like the fierceness of a relationship is what like really stands out to me. Mm-hmm. And so like the Leo makes,
they're extremely loyal.
Yeah,
they're very,
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It makes sense. And it's like, I don't want to say soft relationships, but like intense. Like, yeah, if it's not there, then it's like, well, like this is not entertaining, or it might be entertaining for like a short stint, but then it's like, nope, I'm going to go find something more exhilarating than this, or more like lively feeling than this. Mm-hmm. And definitely
be fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And definitely a flair for the dramatic at times, where it's like, I'm make a point, and that's a thing. I will completely own that.
And I think all of these things can be seen in a positive light, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And then I guess the only other thing maybe that I should mention is the Aries being kind of the mask that you show other people. Mm-hmm. So like you do have that energy, but you show it like you have a lot more depth than just the Aries that you show people. So
I think I agree with that the most. Like, I think that's the thing that like I've been trying to do more frequently is like I actually I have tarot cards on my like tattooed on my arm, that it's the sun and the moon card, with the sun behind the moon showing the sun illuminating the moon. So like it was about false masks and like showing your true self. So I was like, yep, I'm definitely getting that as like a thing that's inked. And that's part of why, honestly, is like I think people often think that like I'm a tough person, I deal with a lot, I don't let it show, all those things, but it's like, hey, but I'm still squishy inside, like like you can't not let. So I agree with that a lot, actually.
Yeah. Oh,
I love this. Go ahead, Shelby.
Oh, sorry. The only thing I was going to say is that I didn't really talk much about the moon sign. The moon sign is really, and that is also an Aries for you, but that is kind of your internal world, your emotions and your internal world. So, and Aries is like, they're a fire sign, but they're really sensitive. Like they have the ability to be really sensitive. And I think that kind of gets glossed over in a lot of the pop astrology things about Aries, but they're pretty deeply sensitive people.
It tracks again. You haven't said, I have not detected a lie yet. So
I just think already this is such a great exercise in like having like a touch grass moment about how intense and how robust people's personalities are outside of just like your perception or your relationship with them. So like Shelby, Matt, and I still to this day have never met face to face.
No,
which is crazy to me. You guys have amazing chemistry.
Like we've never met face to face. So Matt lives in my text messages and as like a face on my iPad when we record every week. And so to have like a kind of like a touch grass of like Matt is not just this like pretty black and white definition of like my limited perception of him. There's a lot more to Matt than just an hour a week or like, you know, the specific topic that we're talking about this week. So just like, love that. Love that.
I mean, I think that's a good thing. I think that, like, you know, number one, thank you for telling us we have good chemistry, because that's why I asked her back to be my co-host, because like it was like an immediate like, yep, we vibe. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it happened. Let's try and do something like a second episode and see how that is. And it was like the exact same level of like, yep, okay, we're good. This is we can capture lightning twice. Let's do this. But like it is interesting, and I think that's why like I keep looking at your face when she's describing all of this, simply because reading your reaction to it tells me more about it. Because like I mean, you can relate any of these facts to any of the like astrology things. Like you could see any, so like that's kind of the whole like woo of it, is people are like, well, you like, if so you stubbed your toe, so that means that this thing is that like, and that's like a dismissal of it. But when you're saying it and there's another person that's also sitting there that can also be like, so like there's times where Caitlin, you were like nodding your head like, yeah, I see it, makes sense,
checks out.
Checks out.
I love that.
And again, this is just going off the general energy that I see. There's probably, you know, deeper analysis to be had, but I'm glad to hear that it's tracking. That makes me feel good about my own, like, where my astrological analysis skills have gone.
Oh yeah. I didn't tell you this before we started recording, but like we're a cure for imposter syndrome on this show. I don't know what it is or why it happens, but that's just a thing. We are a cure for imposter syndrome. So
I feel better already. Let's see. Hopefully I feel the same way after I get done with Caitlin's chart too.
Yeah. Oh, let's do it.
Okay, let's see. So, Caitlin, obviously you know that you are a Gemini. I am a Gemini moon, so I vibe very well with Geminis and other air signs. I have heavy air placements myself. Gemini sun. Your moon is actually in Virgo, which is really interesting. I have thoughts about that. Your Mercury sign is also in Gemini, so you too have a Gemini stellium. Your Venus sign, also in Gemini. Your Mars is in Aries.
Yeah.
Hey.
So again, I'm seeing a lot of things where you guys definitely align. We've also got Jupiter in Virgo, Saturn in Aquarius, Uranus in Capricorn, Neptune in Capricorn. So those outer planets, less important. Your ascendant is also in Libra. So your rising sign is in Libra. Here's the thing. Just a little tidbit that I have nothing really to base this on other than just my own personal history and things that I've seen. But when someone's sun sign matches up with another person's rising sign, they vibe. They just vibe together. My partner right now, I'm a Pisces. He's a Pisces rising. There's just some sort of like instant spark and connection that happens when the rising sign and the sun sign match up. It's like, I see you, you see me, something's happening here. So I clocked that immediately and I was like, that's so interesting.
That is really interesting.
Yeah. So, again, Gemini stellium. Geminis get a bad rap and I love Geminis.
I was literally going to ask you about that because listen, I'm tired of this. No more Gemini hate. I'm not two-faced. Okay. My Mercury is the same sign. I communicate and present exactly. It is what it is. I am who I am. Okay.
I love a Gemini. No Gemini hate over here. I get along with them very well. I think so because their archetype, like yours is the scale, right? So the Gemini archetype is the twins, and people take that to mean two-faced or duplicitous. I think it can also just mean you, again, contain many multitudes. Like you just have a lot of sides to you. You have a lot of pieces of your personality. And Geminis are very quick-witted, so they're Mercury ruled, so they're very like fast, very like quick communication, a lot of good banter, that kind of thing. They're very smart. Their brains are just always going. So usually if someone has heavy Gemini placements, I'm like, how's your anxiety doing?
That's so bad. Thanks for asking, Shelby.
I'm so sorry to hear that, but I also big same. So
I'm also violently ADHD, so it totally fits.
Yeah, so that's right. No.
you'll have that. You will have that. Yeah. So I think they get a bad rap, and I think there's a difference. The other people that get bad raps are Pisces men. Pisces men get a really bad rap specifically. And I think this about every sign, right? If you get a bad rap, any sign as an unhealed person is probably going to get a bad rap.
Mm-hmm.
I think you probably have done a lot of introspection. You probably have a lot of self-awareness, like probably to a fault, like so much self-awareness. And the other piece is that Virgo moon is going to balance that out so hard. Virgos are an air sign. Virgos are a sign that like they're perfectionists. So that is something that I see a lot. They're perfectionists. They have very high standards.
Put your eyebrow down, Matt. Okay.
You don't say. That's a perfectionist, Caitlin. What? No, never. Not once in her life.
Oh my God.
But a Virgo is going to ground a lot of that air energy. So again, a lot of grounding there. I'm trying to think of other important things about Virgos. Virgos tend to, all the Virgos that I've met, and I'm not going to say that this is true because who knows, but a lot of times Virgos carry like a lot of shame that has to kind of get unlearned throughout the course of their life. That's like the energy that they bring into the world, is like trying to unlearn that and kind of yeah. What else? Okay, so obviously you are a Gemini Mercury, so you communicate very similarly to how the whole of your personality is. Again, same kind of traits. It's very quick-witted. You're probably really good with new technology. You're, fast conversation, really, you can keep up really well. It's like when someone's fast talking back and forth. The Venus in Gemini also, to me, says like, if I need a partner I can talk to, I need a partner who can keep up with my level of conversation. And that's like a thing that might make you feel cared for and loved.
My Venus is also Gemini?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
Okay.
yeah. Sun, Mercury, and Venus all in Gemini.
Cool.
So your relationships, your communication, and you in general are pretty much just in line with each other. And I think that is probably one of the strongest like vibing factors to me, is that like if I always like connected to the Libra thing, but if I even the like smallest whiff of like insincerity or like not quite like the person you're presenting isn't actually the person you are, it immediately is like, nope, I don't trust you. I don't like I don't got time for it. I'm going somewhere else. So like the fact that like that is what it is, it makes sense and it tracks to me. And I think that like my sister's a Gemini, and that's like I always, like I said, she's the one that's like super into astrology. So like I learned through watching her that like the twins is more of an internal struggle than it is an outward one, where it's like you are inclined to want to do this thing while also knowing that it might not necessarily be in kind. So you're in a constant power struggle of like a path to take, more so than like an outwardly like I'm two-faced where like I'm going to say this and do that. Like I never saw that, where like I've seen my sister be like ultra fierce in like an argumentative way, but also like turn around and be like super loving and realize like how much somebody means to them, even though they just got through like arguing. It's like, I don't, sister, leave me alone right now. You just yelled at me. I don't want this. So like
big Gemini energy.
Yeah. So like,
and your Aries placements are like, I'm not ready to have this conversation yet.
yeah. There you go.
So you mentioned earlier in the episode something about planets returning around 30.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we at? Where are both of us at with that?
That's a good question. I did not look up that specifically. I'd have to like go in and do some calculation about that.
Okay.
Maybe for a part 2 sometime. But Yeah, I'm just, so can you think specifically, and I don't know, I guess I do have both of your ages right here. So, so Caitlin, you and I are right around the same age because we were born the same year. And then Matt, you're just a little bit older, but can you
Oh,
think,
how sweet of you to say just a little bit older.
just a little bit, not much. That
Yeah.
you actually are just a little bit younger than Christine, my co-host, who's like,
Oh, yeah.
I always forget that we have an age gap, and sometimes I'll make a reference
Same.
to something and she'll be like, I don't know what that is. Like, I
Caitlin
didn't
often
watch
teaches me
SpongeBob.
about TikTok. So, yep, that's how that works.
Yeah, it's great. You gotta have someone just a couple years younger to like keep you cool.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, I'm just out of curiosity. Did either of you, can you think back around that time period, and do you remember any significant events around that time? I know that's also like just life.
So I had a another internet friend that I met once in real life, and we all of us, like, as a game, like, she's very good at reading just like the circle charts.
Mhm.
And I pulled my circle chart up for her, and she was like, holy shit, I see lots of stuff. I'm like, yeah, both my parents are at that point, my mom was dead. I lost my dad at 27. Just like traumatic experiences in general, but like
Yeah.
specifically, like right now, I'm feeling. I specifically didn't want to cancel this interview or cancel this specific conversation because we have this weird thing, especially with Boss Babes episodes, where it's like, this is divine timing. I needed to hear whatever conversation we had. I need to hear it. And right now, I'm in like a very. I just like I need to get myself out of whatever rut I'm currently in, specifically with career, specifically with personal identity, and just like self-sabotage, negative self. So I'm trying to figure out is that motherfucking planet returning as I speak, because I'm so tired of this perfect season of my life. And I don't know, maybe it's Mercury in retrograde. I don't know.
It could be.
It
lasts a couple of weeks. You got a couple more weeks in Mercury retrograde. I will say, so again, I know I said this earlier and it still stands, but sometimes, so Saturn being the planet that kind of rules over Christine and I call it Daddy Saturn.
Okay.
Because it's like I'm laying down the law. I'm telling you what hurdles you have to get over to accomplish things in your life, like what is going to bring structure to your life. And so typically I like look at what your sign is and what house that's in, and if there's any kind of Saturnian transits happening. So it may be the Saturn return, but also your Saturn is in Aquarius, and Aquarius is a weird sign. I say that as someone with both my Venus and Mars are in Aquarius, and it's a weird placement.
Okay. What does that mean?
Aquarius is like very like,
huh?
So have you ever heard the term Age of Aquarius? As like
I think it's a movie title, right?
Or song, lyrics.
It's a lot of things.
There's a lot of things. Maybe I'm too old for that part of the conversation, Caitlin, or you're too young, whichever way you want to look at that.
So Aquarius, the Age of Aquarius is usually how people talk about. So the United States now is in it. It's, I just talked about the Pluto return is in Aquarius. So the United States Pluto placement is in Aquarius right now. And that, again, coincides with Pluto being the planet of destruction. Aquarius is also very aligned with revolutionary things, future thinking outside of the box is a very Aquarius thing to do. Like anything like weird and quirky is Aquarius. So think about like your career and your, like where you need to be in life. And most likely, if you look at Aquarius, like it's probably going to be something kind of outside the box.
Okay. Stop it. Literally next week, I have a job interview for something that makes me feel like quirky, outside the box. Like this is a little abnormal, a little weird, still kind of in the same vein of what I do professionally. But like, I think it's time to change it up. And you just told me, get out of here.
We'll see. That
Fine,
again,
damn it.
This is my very novice kind of view of, Saturn and Aquarius. Actually, you know what I'm going to do now that we've done this interview? Because occasionally we read birth charts a little. really, when I say we, I mean Christine reads birth charts on the podcast if people email us and things like that.
Mhm.
I'm going to take this birth chart to Christine and kind of see like, okay, I gave my analysis of this. Now I want you to tell me if there's something deeper here, and she'll look at your aspects and things like that. And so I'm going to do that next time we record and kind of come back. And that doesn't have to be an on-air thing. I can just do that to you personally, because I feel like I need to know now. Now I'm
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah.
Let's do it, please. Help me, Christine.
Yeah.
Help me, Shelby. Help me, Christine.
I'll see what she's got to say. But it sounds like we're on to something right there.
Mhm.
So I'm curious about it.
These are the episodes that I love because like Caitlin is like super into a topic and then it hits home and then she's squirmy and it's like,
And I'm mad. It's
yeah,
like, damn it.
It's like, wasn't this the one that you were like, hey, if you can find somebody that does anything with it, like we have a Google Doc and like things that she puts in this Google Doc for like topic ideas or things. And it's like, okay, I can find somebody that can do this. I can find somebody that can do that or whatever. And this was one that I was like, we literally, like I told you when we were having a conversation is like, we did, like a whole thing on enneagrams and like so
too.
Yeah, see there you go, and that's yep so it balances out. And
I'm an 8.
Oh, okay, fun. That's a lot more fun.
Violently an 8.
Yeah it shows often.
Well, but yes, I put it in the Google Doc that I like. This was something that I thought would be like a really compelling topic, especially because we have kind of different perspectives about it. And you were like, I don't know anybody that knows anything about astrology. And then randomly, boom, here's Shelby.
Divine timing. How about that?
I'm historically I know a guy person, and I don't know how this like I don't know what like I guess I don't. People tell me a thing and feel safe, and then they're like, oh, so then I have a conversation and like divulge this thing, and it's like, oh, that's awesome that you do that. And then they're like, you actually think something about me is cool? Let me stay here for a little bit longer and see what else you might enjoy. So like, it's just kind of just part of it. I mean, again, it's what makes this podcast kind of what it is like we create a fun environment, but also like it is an educational thing. We are here like learning, and we're not learning with like a closed off like mentality. We're learning with like I can see how this could be applied. And I think even with like the TikTok trends, I am forced to learn from Caitlin at times. I learned something, and I at least understand and appreciate, how that might be somebody's craft. So like for me, with you coming on and doing this, the thing I think it shows the most is that like Caitlin and I, we vibe, and we have always been like, we don't know why, it's just a thing. And people have always written into the show about like how much they love our dynamic and assume that we must be like best friends and hang out all the time. But like it like often blows people's minds when she says it, because she says it like at least once every month that like we still haven't met. Like she posted a picture on Instagram not too long ago, and it was like a full body picture, and I was like, oh my God, you have legs. Because she's not just a torso on my screen.
Not
so
you
like,
have legs.
yeah, because like I have no idea. It is like usually like maybe shoulders up, and if her camera's doing something weird, I might get a little bit of her lower arm, but like that's about it.
Like going through a friend's star charts, like I wouldn't actually ever really guess inherently, Matt, that you have a hot fucking temper, because I've never really been in a situation where I've had to see too much of a spicy temperature.
We have a little bit of time, so I'm gonna throw a fun story in here.
Yeah,
so I was one of the first kindergartners to get suspended for fighting. Kid said something about my mom. I don't know if you guys are probably not old enough to remember it, but there used to be a game called the Dozens. You just threw back and forth insults. So like it was like, you smell funny. Well, you're short. Well, your hair is weird. Like, and then you just go back and forth, and then whoever
that
gets
just sounds like bullying. It
is, and it isn't. It was like intentional, but it was like controlled, if that makes sense. Where it was like once somebody gets mad, then they're mad, and they're like, all right, take it back, and then that person takes it back, and then you just move on. And it's like it wasn't like you don't usually like carry it with you, because usually that person says, okay, I take it back, and like it was meant to be hurtful, but it wasn't meant to be like harmful, if that makes sense. So he said something about my mom, and I was like, well, okay, take that back. And then he added, at least my mom loves me, or something. I don't remember what he said, but he added something else, and I was like, for real, take it back. And he said no, and then smiled real big. So I punched him in his mouth immediately, and I got suspended for it. Yeah, he did deserve it. And from that point forward, it was like marked that I had a super hot temper, and my sisters already knew it. My dad already knew it. I was in trouble all the goddamn time. And at school, it was like from that point forward, it was like I was always in trouble for something because I had a quick temper. And it wasn't until maybe like 16, 17 when I was like able to drive and able to like kind of have like some autonomy in my own life where I could like realize, oh damn, maybe I need to like tone that down. Maybe it's not good to fly off the handle all the time. There's still times where it happens, but yeah, that was the thing.
And
that's who I was.
It's also really interesting to me that Caitlin, you also have an Aries Mars, so you also, I would give you that same analysis.
That's why I made that face at her when you said it.
I am
ready to go all the time.
I am feisty. I work as a civilian in law enforcement, which is very male dominated.
Yeah.
And like, I had one of my old sergeants who was like, when I was very pregnant, we were headbutting, and I was right because he wanted to do something stupid and do it the wrong way. And he was like, well, better watch those pregnancy hormones. And I'm like, you I got a tampon in my purse if you fucking need one, you mother, like very, very hot temper. But very, now as I'm trying to be older and mature, I'm very like territorial. I tap into that very readily if someone I love is being screwed over. Like when my little sister got married, this venue screwed her over. So, feisty on that front. But I'm very feisty, but I will give it to you straight. I present how I am.
Yes.
See, that's the thing I love. And you said you had just listened to our 100th episode, and that's something that I even called out was like, we're both that way. And for some reason, like we can have conversations, and like when the other, like we can see each other, I guess. So that kind of helps. Where like when the other one's kind of getting a little agitated, I think we both kind of like realize,
because you see each other, because you maybe see conflict in a similar way. The other thing about that is that neither one of you is scared of conflict. So you're not afraid to say the thing that's true because it needs to be said. I will also attribute that a little bit to the Virgo moon. A Virgo will give you advice whether or not you want to hear it sometimes because you need it, and I care about you.
Hey, Caitlin, what's that about you wanting to solve everybody's problems and like run in and give them the answer instead of
it's fine. It's fine. I'm going to hold myself to a standard of perfection while I do it.
Yeah, there you go.
Everyone else around you as well, because you want them to be better, because you love them intensely and you care about them.
100%. I need to make sure I force my husband and my little sister to sit down and listen to this episode, so I can be like, yeah.
There you go. See, that's what I was like. Since I'm on location, I was like, damn, I don't have my notepad in front of me and my notebook and my pencil like I normally do, so I can't like jot notes and I was like, good thing it's recorded because I'm gonna need to take this one in. So,
Shelby, really quickly, you as a social worker, first and foremost, you're an angel among us. You don't get paid enough to do anything that you deal with. Thank you so much for what you do. But how do you balance kind of this academic aspect of how you can see and explain human behavior versus this astrology, which some would say is very granola, very woo-woo? Like,
it's really interesting. So again, I don't want to say I always do it, because sometimes, I can't. But for the most part, I also don't have any fire signs, so it makes it pretty easy for me. I'm pretty watery, pretty like, okay, I see where you're coming from. But I like to bring a very trauma-informed lens to human behavior. So like, are you trying to argue with me? Okay, why? I might think that you're wrong. I might acknowledge that this isn't a good way to be, but I'm not going to blame you for it. I understand that this and this and this led you to that. So maybe it's your experiences. Maybe it's, how you were raised and what you saw. And sometimes it's also, maybe that's just because you're a Taurus and you're a little stubborn, and that's okay too. Like I feel like it's not hard for me to integrate it kind of seamlessly, because I am already looking for, okay, why is this person acting this way? Does it have something to do with me? Do I need to change something about the way I'm interacting? Or is this, something that's going on with them that doesn't have anything to do with me? Like, I feel like that's a non-answer. That was a very like Piscean, watery ass answer.
I'm gonna remember we just said we cure imposter syndrome here. So the reason that you're on the show as a boss babe, right? Like you were like, oh, my co-host is the one that does this better. I don't know why you could, maybe you want to talk to, and I was like, no, I want to talk to you. And that is why, because you are a trauma-informed individual who is making decisions on how to communicate with the whole picture, and you're not afraid to use every tool at your disposal, which is what any good trauma informed, I don't even call you like an activist, because that's what it is. You have to be like nothing. I deal with kids with autism and a lot of other things, and every one of them has trauma from something, and everything that they're doing is directly respondent to something they have already experienced. And if I don't approach everything that I do with that child that way, or if I don't create the same, cookie cutter person for them constantly, so they know exactly what they're going to get, where one day I'm not going to be like, angry or whatever because I like missed the coffee maker timer or something, like whatever the thing is. Like you have to be regimented in what you believe, but also flexible in what you apply. And that is what makes you a boss babe. Because in our little conversation that lasted maybe like an hour, if that, yeah, I read that off of you, and I was like, this is who she is at her core, and this is who, in my opinion, makes the world a better place, because nobody sees it except for the people that need to see it. Nobody necessarily understands how to best appreciate it because it's different for all of us, and nobody celebrates it. But we do here, especially Caitlin and I. So that's what makes you a boss babe.
First of all, you said so many nice things about me right there. I really appreciate that. And I'm in a space where I like really needed to hear that. So thank you. Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. You really like took what I said and said what I meant.
Yeah. It's almost like I'm a communicator.
Annoying how he does that though. Like he's so good at it.
So good at it. But yeah, kind of to kind of circle back to what we talked about earlier, astrology, if nothing else, has taught me that people contain so many multitudes and so many layers and so many pieces of things that like it just adds to what I'm already seeing with the person in front of me, of like, okay, I see, here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing this behavior, this particular kind of communication, but I know that there's layers here. And astrology just reinforces that every day.
Yeah. To me, like the way I look at it is like knowing what button to press. They're in this mood. This is happening. This is going on. And like knowing this thing about their chart might give you like, at the very least, it's something to try, and I got to try something. So this is a place to start. If that doesn't work, cool. At least I tried to do something. I didn't just say, well, you're a dick and I'm going to walk away. Like, you know what I mean? So
yeah, exactly. And to be more specific about answering that question, I don't come into a situation being like, well, you're a Sagittarius, so I know that you're kind of chaotic. Like I would never, like that is not ethical. That is not how I practice. Like I would never do that. But occasionally, after I've worked with somebody for a while, I will like peep the birthday and be like, oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Like, yeah. So it's not the first tool in my toolbox for work in a professional sense, but I do occasionally just peep what's going on.
If anything, it is anecdotally satisfying for you to go home and be like, yeah, that makes sense. I can validate this and no longer on my plate because I can. Bye.
Sometimes I'll just try to guess what their sign is and then go back later and be like, I was right. I've gotten better at it.
It sounds like a people watching like event, the ultimate, what do you think that person is? I think that would be fun. So we're coming to the end. Usually we do or this or that, but like we kind of did a reverse interview, and I don't know. I don't know what this or that's I can like throw at you that are going to be like stumpers, especially after the conversation wasn't about you, so people wouldn't have learned those things about you. It was about us. So what I will do is, Caitlin, what is one thing that you learned about yourself that you now like, yep, okay, I believe it?
That I kind of like, I had an understanding that I am who I am, and I don't cut corners or mince words. So to just get like another level of confirmation of that, where it's like, no, the crazy shit that I post on my TikTok, like that's exactly who I am. And I would tell you that in real life, or on this podcast, or in a conference room in a fucking federal building. I don't give a shit. Like there's too much to do. We have stuff to do. So that is a little bit validating, especially while I'm going through this, like, again, wonky season of not in tune with myself at all. So I like that. What about you, Matt?
I'm skipping past that because I'm the host. So Shelby, what's one thing that surprised you at Caitlin's response to your reading that like made you be like, oh, okay, yeah?
I think it's just very validating for me to read someone's chart and to have them go, oh yeah, that really makes sense. The curing of the imposter syndrome. I'm like, oh shit, I do know what I'm talking about. Okay. Like that is always, I don't get the opportunity to do that very often, and it's a nice feeling. It's a really nice feeling.
Good. So for me, I would have to say, like, the amount of Aries, like, it just makes sense. And I didn't know that prior, but like, it's like, oh yeah, that tracks. So like, that's a thing that like I said, I say it all the time. Like I have to be in the ring with another bull. I can't not. And if you're not going to be a bull, then like, you really should get out of the ring, because I'm going to steamroll you. And then I'm going to feel bad about it later. And that's probably the Libra coming back being like, oh, hey, or even the like Leo coming back being like, I didn't mean to do that, but like I had no choice. So like it makes sense. So, where can people find you / your podcast and your co-hosty?
Yeah. So you can find me, Shelby, if you just want to reach me. My public Instagram account is at Shelby Cooking Things, because I'm a Cancer rising. I love to cook. Those things are related. I promise. If you want to find our podcast, we're on every podcast platform. We are the I'm Such a Pisces podcast. We are at Such a Pisces pod on TikTok and Instagram. And then we are also at suchapiscespod@gmail.com. Feel free to send us your birth charts, ask us questions, all of the above. We love it when people reach out to us and, ask all kinds of things. So come find us. And then also my co-host, Christine. Again, you can reach her at our Such a Pisces pod email or Instagram, or she is also on Instagram at the Dreamy Piscean. And she's a great follow. She, not that I'm not a great follow, but she is like a very consistent content creator. So she's always posting all kinds of interesting stuff over there. Well, so yeah, come check us out.
Yeah, thank you. And all of those things stamp you as a boss, babe. So again, thank you for being on. We'll link all of that in the show notes. And I hope you go like get your charts read and figure out, what things match up. And if something doesn't match up, also send us that information. Let us know that like something did, like you got your chart read and you didn't agree with this. Just as much as we want to like say, oh, hey, these are good things, there's also the negative side, and we welcome all comers. So yeah, thanks for being here. Caitlin, hope you can, feel better and sleep a little bit, but also she was right about a lot of things. Deal with it.
Yeah, please feel better. Thank you guys both for having me so much. This was so much fun. Have me back anytime. I loved it.
Bye.
Bye.
The bell is about to ring. If you want to drop us a voice message or simply ask a question, you can do that by clicking the link in the show notes below. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review. It helps more people find us. Theme music by Kinsey. More music available on Spotify. Remember, every day is a class. Go learn something. Join us next time on the Holmes Room Podcast.
Well, it's yet again another episode where I'm educating Matt about TikTok trends. This one is not nearly as brain rot as I could have picked for a different TikTok trend. So But yeah, I appreciate that we can have some uncomfortable conversations. Thank you again for calling me out on my privilege. Educators, please give us some feedback on this topic. Like, I know that everybody's probably got big feelings about it. I just wish that we as a society were doing more to look out for those that are coming behind us. So I'm going to do what I can to mitigate that problem. I can't control everything. I can control how much school supplies in my kid's classroom. So